Um, I started a little earlier this morning. Hopefully, I've got a little bit more time before the sun is in my face. The animals are starting to get used to this routine of me sitting down to talk to you in the mornings because look who didn't make any time at all. The moment I sat down, there she was. Ah, puppies. Puppy. Soda will not be joining us this morning. She had 5 kittens last night in the bed. So, yay, guess what my chore for today is? Washing all the bedding, and hopefully I can get the stains out of the sheets. Well, more precisely, the quilt my grandmother gave me. She's no longer with us, so hopefully I can clean up the quilt that she made me. There's a couple of things I want to talk about this morning. We'll see how things go. You may have noticed that plans change literally on the start as they leave the starting gate sometimes. Abby, no. Something that I mentioned yesterday that I said I really wanted to talk to you about was ego. And ego is definitely something that I need to clarify right really early on in this piece, because the ego and the ego self is something that features prominently in most of the work that we're going to be doing this year throughout the course of this alchemical phoenix. So it's really important that we're on the same page and we understand what I'm talking about, because I'm not using it in the same way that, say, Carl Jung is using it. Now, think of the ego as the mask we wear. Now, it's not just a mask you put on for fun, it's a survival mask. It's the mask we wear to survive. It's the pretend. It's us pretending to be a person in society. And the dangerous thing about masks is if you wear it for too long, you start to become that mask. The ego self is it is us in many ways. It certainly it drives a lot of what we do because of this survival thing, and its core directive is survival, its own survival, not your survival, its own survival. It will absolutely throw you under a bus to save itself. In this way, the ego self is a separate entity. It is the entity we create. It is an entity that we feed constantly and feeds on us. It's like think of it like a parasite. And in the ancient days, it was related to the jinn, where there were good jinn and bad jinn. Everybody had jinn. Liken it to in some of the really old school animations with the little angel on one shoulder, the little devil on the other. The little angel on one shoulder was meant to represent the Holy Spirit, and the little devil on the other shoulder is representing the influences of Satan. But in the more reality of it, the angel represents that human within you trying to step forward, and the little devil is the ego self. In that sense, it is something that you can remove. I don't know if it's possible to remove it completely, but what you can do, and what I've seen done, is defund it to such a massive extent that it has no power or influence anymore. And it is my belief that something along the lines of grace comes about because that ego has been so diminished. Now, we can do a lot of work ourselves to diminish it, and I will teach you how to. But I believe that it is possible for divine intervention to come and diminish it on your behalf if You are earnest in your intentions, but it is just too powerful. You have been feeding this thing your whole life. Since childhood, you have been feeding this thing, okay? It, like I said, its prime directive is its own survival, and it will throw you under the bus. I will say that over and over. You will hear me say that a lot. It will trick us, it will manipulate us. It has two hands firmly within our emotional body, and it will pull and tug on our emotions to its heart's content. It is the cruelty inside of us, cruelty aimed at ourselves most of the time. So when I talk about the ego, I am referring to this manipulative entity carried by people. When I talk about the egoic, think about it along the lines of how the demonic is associated to demons, the egoic is associated to the ego. And the ego self is this entity, this facet, this aspect of our being that we are trying to diminish and revoke. Again, I'm not 100% sure if it can be completely removed because it is so deeply ingrained in us for so much of our lives. It is possible for a child to develop into an adult without developing an ego body. It is possible. The odds are very remote, especially in today's day and age. So that's something that we need to work on and we need to understand. Um, when I say that it has two hands firmly in our emotional body and will manipulate us, how it does that is through feelings and memory. If I am facing a situation or about to face a situation, if I'm thinking about a situation I'm about to deal with, the egoic self is going to dredge up every time we've made a mistake, every time we made a decision for ourselves, or every time we've made a bad decision, or every time we've messed up in some way, it's going to dredge all of those up. And what happens is it leeches at our confidence to face whatever situation is coming. Not only does it leech our confidence to face and deal with whatever it is, but it uses what it takes to feed itself. It feeds off our emotional charge. It feeds off our mental charge, our spiritual charge. It can consume all four of our primary bodies. It doesn't often get into the spiritual body, mostly because people these days don't develop one. That's the easiest way to explain that to you. It loves attacking the spiritual. It loves attacking our hopes and dreams. It loves dragging us back down. It can't survive in a body which is high frequency. So it has to drag our frequency back down. So it loves to attack the spiritual body. Most of the time, it doesn't have to. Most of the time, it can achieve exactly what it wants just attacking our emotional self and occasionally the mental self. If you're a more mentally predominant person, then your ego is most likely going to be feeding and manipulating off of your mental body. And what you need to do is learn to identify that egoic influence in your life, in what you do, in what you think. Watch the memories that come up as you go about your day. Watch, and as those memories come up, Write it down. Honestly, journaling is your best friend. Write down what the memory was, what happened leading up to that memory coming back, like think, what you think triggered that memory to arise, and how you felt during or straight after that memory. What you need to learn to do is to identify the memories being fed to you by your egoic self for the sake of dragging down your energy. If I'm just going about my day, pottering about, and I'm just feeling relatively chipper, things are good, things are coming along, and suddenly a memory just comes out of nowhere of me as a child messing up really, really badly. And I get filled with maybe regret or remorse. Guilt is its most powerful one. It loves slapping us in the face with guilt. Then if I'm just going about my day and I'm chipper and it randomly comes up to drag me into those feelings of guilt, that's the ego self. That's the ego self. That is the ego trying to weasel its way back into my attention frame. And the easiest way to deal with that is just to slam the door in its face. Take the memory, congeal it like you would to put a word to it, and throw it away. Move it aside. And you say to yourself, irrelevant. That parcel of information is completely irrelevant for this moment in time. Now, this takes practice. I'm going to let you know that it's going to take practice, especially if it's dredging up particularly traumatic events. It's going to be extremely persistent. It's used to getting its own way. It's used to taking whatever it wants, whenever it wants. The moment you start to identify and recognize it as a parasite, it starts to protect itself. It starts to defend itself. It's going to throw every dirty trick it knows. And it is the origination of most of the dirty tricks that we know. So be prepared to be persistent, and be prepared to get really aggressive with it. If you need to take that little conglomerate of information it just fed you, if you need to smash that bastard till it's dust and throw it to the wind, do so. If you want to set it on fire, do so. You know, you need to absolutely obliterate the egoic self control over you. Fire is a brilliant one. Fire is transmutation. You are taking something physical, turning it into energy. Fire is incredible. Have a fire burning at all times in your mind's eye. And whenever the ego throws anything at you, just straight into the fire. Don't even go there. You don't even need to blame the ego self. It's just like, nope, done. Into the fire. Into the fire it goes. Straight poof into the energy. That is how this starts. It gets a whole lot more complicated because this only works. This idea of just irrelevant, take it away. Take it away. No, no good. Straight to the fires. No, smash to dust. Done. Um, that's how you start. It gets more complicated than that. Because the ego is going to protect itself, defend itself. It only cares about its own survival above yours. I can't say that enough. That is why we make so many horrific mistakes as people. It's because we don't know what we're doing. The ego's doing it all. It's practically insanity. Although insanity comes down to mostly perspective. In any case, I think that's enough. I think that's enough of a lump to throw on you, especially so early in the morning, even if you're not watching this so early in the morning. have a think about that. Have a think about some of these moments. This is the best thing about the ego. It gives you the ammunition you need to destroy it. If it keeps feeding you the same memories over and over and over, that tells you exactly what memories and what events and what traumas in your life to deal with first. It is going to give you what you need to take it away, to take it apart. And we'll get to that down the track. Have a lovely day, everybody. Until next time.